Good morning, gentlemen. Welcome to Good Morning Brownsville Sports Talk. It's Friday, October 24th, 11:09 a.m. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking about things that have been transpiring in the National Basketball League. We also have the World Series starting today, so a lot to cover in this on this Friday morning. Thank you, each and every one of you that are tuning in to Good Morning Brownsville. As many of you know, or if it's your first time here, welcome. Our program focused primarily on politics. On Fridays, from here moving forward, we will stick to sports, getting you ready for the weekend. Lots to talk about. Again, yesterday something very scary happened. There was a gambling scandal that came to light. The federal government, Kash Patel, leader of the FBI, director of the FBI, did announce that arrests were made. Over 30 people were arrested for gambling, illegal gambling. This puts into question the reputation and trust that the NBA as a brand, as a league will have. Many people are left wondering and possibly are even questioning even more. Is this league rigged? Is Major League sports, is it more like entertainment? Is it just like WWE wrestling? We'd like to think that sports is something that is genuine. When we talk about youth sports, we always teach players to play to the best of their abilities, to play within the lines, play within the whistle. Don't try to hurt your opponent. Don't try to have some sort of advantage over someone. Those are, I guess, codes of ethics that possible little league, high school, and even the pros have. It's sacred, right? Well, what happened yesterday highlighted something that is the norm, it seems. Two interesting cases that happened out of the NBA. There was people that were arrested for gambling, high stakes poker, and there was also people that were arrested for manipulating the game, in particular, manipulating the stats. For the record, I am somebody that I enjoy sports gambling. Whenever I go to Vegas, whenever I'm in New Orleans, Nolens, I always stay by the sports books. While people like to throw dice, play craps, I like to be close to the TVs. Many people even question, why are you betting on these things? This is rigged. So we have players that were gambling, that were cheating players out of millions of dollars. You had a head coach, Chauncey Billups, on the screen. You had players, former players, give inside information in regards to injuries. This is something out of a movie. It really is. And for those that aren't aware, Chauncey Billups is a decorated basketball player, Hall of Famer. He won a championship with the Detroit Pistons against the San Antonio Spurs. He just got his first head coaching job a few years ago with the Portland Trail Blazers. But unbeknownst to the world, what was happening behind closed doors is eventually going to leave a mark, a stain, a black eye on the NBA. because as fans, we expect fair competition, and any hint that either players, coaches, or referees are influenced by betting interests, it really undermines the integrity of the game. What is this going to do to sponsorships, broadcasters? They might distance themselves from being linked with corruption, to cases where it ultimately led to financial losses. The scandal also, it could bring stricter regulations and more government scrutiny, which ultimately puts pressure on league's operation of the NBA. There's no question that this controversy, it threatens the image of the NBA as a professional and transparent organization that is built on fair play. What is happening is something very interesting. You have players such as Terry Rozier, former players, former assistant coaches in Chauncey Billups and Jones, D. Jones. D. Jones is being accused of giving information to bettors involving LeBron James. So LeBron James used to play with D. Jones on the far right in the silver polo. He used to play with LeBron James. I think he actually works either for LeBron James directly or part of his group. So he knows information, things before the public does. Every team, they have to reveal, announce an injury report by a certain time. And that injury report ultimately affects the point spread on games. And this could be from any professional sport: hockey, football, basketball, baseball. Whoever plays or who doesn't ultimately has a big effect on the way these games are wagered. So this is something out of a movie. They're accusing the player, Terry Rozier, of telling people, hey, bet heavy on this game on this day. I'm not going to finish the game. I'm going to fake an injury. And on that day, there was a $200,000 bet on Terry Rozier in the jersey when he was playing with the Charlotte Hornets for him to score under X amount of points. After the first 9 minutes of that game, Terry Rozier checked himself out, complained of his foot hurting. And the way the league now monitors these irregularities for these gambling wagers is that they work with the different booking sites, booking agencies. And whenever they see that a certain prop bet, such as a player's stats, gets wagered heavy, well, that causes them to look more into it. And according to the federal government, on that day that these individuals, and I think that they were friends, cousins, relatives, close acquaintances of Terry Rozier, they went to cash out their ticket. And they went to go count the money at Terry Rozier's house, according to the FBI. So you have that scandal. And I guess I could look for clips on X where Terry Rozier has some questionable plays, sloppy turnovers, sloppy shots that he would take. Many people are now questioning, well, is he doing this on purpose? Is he either throwing the game? Is he not playing to his full potential? And then you have Chauncey Billups in the red. A former player, a current NBA coach, got arrested by the federal government while he was charged or arrested for stealing millions of dollars in poker, cheating. He is somehow related because he is described as a co-defendant in Terry Rozier's indictment. So it's all interconnected in some sort of way. He is accused under Terry Rozier's indictment as being a co-conspirator of some sorts. People are even saying that he was giving information in regards to certain days that he was either going to sit his star players, was going to throw away the game. Can you imagine that? It's fake. And sometimes my friends like to make fun of me because everything's rigged. Vegas always wins, right? When we think about it, there's billions and billions of dollars that are wagered, that are bet, that are, it just affects, it's a large, it encompasses a lot because it affects ticket sales, it affects broadcasting, advertisement, sponsorships. It affects Vegas. It affects common people like you and I who possibly wagered on these games. But wait, it gets crazier. So what was happening is that this ring recruited someone like Chauncey Billups, who, again, is very famous, popular. People admire him because of, of his status, of him being an NBA champion. They recruited him to be part of a scheme that was going to defraud people, cheat people out of millions of dollars through a poker game. They wanted the guests to be goo goo gaga over this NBA star that they were playing against, losing money to. But you're probably thinking, whoa, like, how big of a racket or how big of a scheme could this be for somebody to be defrauded from poker? Like, okay, we have people that count cards, right? They're mathematicians. They're good with numbers. They're able to, okay, there's 52 cards in a deck. So many cards are out. My probabilities are XYZ. No, this goes even more hardcore. Something out of a movie. These people played on a table that was X-ray. There was people in another room with a headset, with a computer, receiving this information. They possibly had, earpieces. They were giving the information in regards to what cards their opponent had. Not just that. They also had a machine, a card machine, that let them know what was coming out, what was going to be on the table. Just reading about this sophistication of this is crazy. But when you think about it, they pulled off a heist of a lifetime. Now, they did defraud one person of at least $1.5 million. I don't think they gave the total amount. But this is crazy. They also supposedly had glasses. Let's see if I can find it. They also had glasses that let them see the cards, a deck of cards, either contacts or glasses. and they're able to see the cards, they're marked. You see that? That's crazy. So just think about the sophistication of this. It got to a point where they were winning so much that they had to lose on purpose. They would send in one of their people to lose on purpose, to have Chauncey Billups lose because Chauncey Billups was winning so much. Crazy, crazy stuff. So they had x-ray tables. They had a machine that could let the people know what cards were dished out in what order. Now, the NBA has always prided itself, if we go back to David Stern, on the integrity, on the image of the game. And every commissioner, that's their number one priority, to preserve the image, integrity. So the shield of the NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL could be respected. Again, at the end of the day, this is professional sports. This isn't scripted. This is real. The NBA has been wanting to distance itself from Tim Donahue, who is a former NBA referee who became infamous for his involvement in a betting scandal that shook professional sports in the mid-2000s. The FBI in 2007 began investigating Donahue for betting on NBA games, including one that he officiated. It was revealed that he bet on sports that he refereed. He used insider knowledge about player injuries, referee assignments, relationships to predict outcomes. He provided tips to gamblers in exchange for money. Donahue pled guilty to conspiring to engage in wire fraud. He was sentenced to 15 months in federal prison. But the aftermath of that, it was tough for the league to jump that hurdle. And now we find ourselves in the mud again. So the NBA has had a referee, has had now a player that has been arrested for manipulating his own stats. Now we have a coach, an active player, an active coach, a former assistant coach, a former assistant player in D. Jones. This is not a good look for the NBA. The NBA just started Tuesday. Opening night, Houston Rockets, OKC Thunder went to double overtime. A thriller. OKC won by 1. You had Golden State, Los Angeles Lakers, prime time. And then you have on the very next day this scandal. And when we talk about sports, it's been recent. It's been very recent that they now have been holding hands, so to speak, with these gambling sites such as FanDuel, DraftKings. I think the Arizona Cardinals are going to have like a sports. I think the Chicago Cubs have like a casino or sports betting in their stadium. I think the Harlingen Cardinals as well. Harlingen Cardinals. Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals, I think, and maybe it's going to be the norm now where professional sports gambling is now predominantly located at the stadiums because we have seen the partnerships that these different leagues have with these types of sites. But moving forward, what's going to happen? And look, everyone's doing it. ESPN has their own gambling site. They're competing with FanDuel, they're competing with DraftKings. Do people is this going to affect ticket sales? Because if a current player and a current coach got caught, is there others out there? This to me was very serious because now you're having someone such as LeBron James' name be questioned. Is he involved in this? They're not saying that LeBron James was the one that passed the information. It was his friend, his former teammate, D. Jones, who gave this information. And LeBron James, for 20 years that he's been in the league, he's managed to keep a clean image. He stayed away from that limelight. You know, we've had players arrested for multiple reasons. LeBron James has managed to stay clear of that. He prides himself on being a role model. He started the league I think he's out for the first month. He's already in his 21st, 22nd season. He's getting up there in age. Are we going to see him bow out? Is this going to have any impact in his retirement? Is this going to affect his retirement moving forward? It's tough to say. But when we talk about sports and you talk about the image and the emblem, the shield of NBA, of MLB, of the NFL, for it to be stained calls into question the integrity of the game. That is the reason why someone such as Pete Rose, he was blackballed. He was not allowed into the Hall of Fame. I don't think he served any jail time. I don't think he was arrested for gambling, for betting on his own team. Or he bet on baseball. I don't think he ever admitted for him to bet on his against or for his own team. One could probably infer that he did. I could be wrong on that. But we're starting to see a ripple effect. Stephen A. Smith yesterday said that the reason why this was happening was because of Donald Trump, that Donald Trump is attacking the NBA and its woke ideologies for these past X amount of years, and that this is going to be the start of the federal government scrutinizing more of these different leagues. We already see how President Trump is going to be directing ICE to be actively monitoring, involved on the ground of the Super Bowl, where Bad Bunny is set to perform. They have also called into question, we don't think he's the best performer. He's not America first. Again, all in all, this story is crazy. But the most interesting part about this, if you thought it couldn't get any more juicier, this is like a Martin Scorsese flick. In the next 4 or 5 years, this is going to become a movie. That's how sexy it is. Because not only do you have a current player, a current head coach in the league, you also bring up names such as the mob, such as figures that were close at one time to John Gotti. This FBI investigation Recent reports do indicate that a significant criminal enterprise comprised of illegal gambling, organized crime families, NBA players and coaches, prosecutors, they did announce charges against over 30 individuals across 11 states. We already spoke about Chauncey. We spoke about Terry Rozier, Damon Jones, D. Jones. But also, we have the mob. We have people such as the Gambino, the Bonanno, Genovese, Lucchese crime families. According to the FBI, these families provided financial backing and used intimidation tactics to enforce payments for the gambling schemes. They were the strong arm. Go collect for me. That's crazy. Now, for anyone that doesn't think that the mob is not involved in everything, this just gives us more ammo to make that argument that these people were involved, are involved. Now, again, this is something that the FBI just released. Where is this going to lead? Is there other players? You know it's serious whenever you have professional athletes who are making millions of dollars. Terry Rozier was making at least 20 plus million. Chauncey Billups, 9-10 million for being a coach. Talking about good money. Why would they get involved in this? Maybe it's an addiction. Maybe it was easy. Maybe they thought nobody was going to find out. It's crazy. It really is. When you think about it. This is the appetite for like a Martin Scorsese movie. When I saw this, I was like, damn. I know Martin Scorsese's probably 81, 82 years old. He's up there, but he's got at least one more good flick in him. And this is what, well, first I thought of the what's the, in Paris, the Lever of the heist of the Napoleon jewels and stuff. I thought, wow, that's like an Ocean 11, Ocean 12 movie with Brad Pitt, George Clooney. That's out there. And then when this came out, I was like, whoa, mafia, New York heavyweights, crime families, X-ray tables at the poker room, machines reading cards, star athletes. Chauncey Billups, head coach, was part of these games where multi-million dollars was stolen, defrauded from people, unbeknownst to them. This has everything appealing to make a movie. And speaking about betting, who can forget how Shohei Ohtani, the Dodgers superstar, under the microscope he was for allegations of him paying a bookie thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars. Many people allege that his interpreter, who is serving time in federal prison, he took the fall for Shohei Ohtani. He said that he was transferring money from Shohei's account. He needed bailout money because he was so in debt that Shohei said, yeah, I'll help you out. That it wasn't Shohei placing the bets, that it was his interpreter, that his interpreter was the one calling the banks to release millions of dollars. Whenever you transfer, millions of dollars, thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm sure you have to get some sort of authorization or, you know, it's crazy how this scandal of gambling, of players happened right around the World Series. It's interesting what has transpired as of a few days ago. What I find fascinating is that it encompasses power, greed, success, if you're the one defrauding people, I guess. But nonetheless, these arrests of the NBA kind of took the thunder away, sort of speaking, of the World Series. The World Series starts this evening, and this is the pinnacle of Major League Baseball season. It's a best of 7 showdown between the champions of the American League, the Blue Jays, and the Los Angeles Dodgers. LA has always been the favorite so far. They're stacked. When you talk about uh, their pitching, they have 4 solid starters. Shohei being the fourth one. You know, he's like the modern day Babe Ruth. He's throwing late in the 6th, 7th, 8th inning, throwing 100 miles an hour. Now he did have Tommy John surgery, but we have seen even when he pitched with the Angels how dominant he was, not just offensively, but on the pitcher's mound. The Blue Jays, on the other hand, they weren't favored to be here. They beat the Yankees, and then they beat the Seattle Mariners, which was impressive. They took Seattle to Game 7. Seattle wasn't able to close the game against them. Tonight on Fox, Game 1 of the MLB World Series, followed by Game 2. The first 2 games are to be held in Toronto. The way the baseball, the Major League Baseball League has its home field advantages during the All-Star game. Whoever wins the All-Star game, either National League or the American League, that is who will have home field advantage for the World Series. They were able to make it competitive because when we talk about the Pro Bowl, when you even talk about the NBA, it's, you know, it's like practice to them. So the MLB All-Star game is taken seriously because it ultimately benefits or affects a team. So Friday and Saturday is going to be at in Toronto. Monday and Tuesday is going to be in LA. Game 5, if necessary, Wednesday at LA. Next Friday, if necessary, in Toronto. With Game 7 next Saturday, if necessary, in Toronto. The Dodgers have always been favored. So far, I got to put my hat on forward. In this game, they're favored to win big. They're favored by minus 155 money line. In regards to pitching, the Dodgers have it. I wouldn't be surprised if they sweep the Blue Jays. I will go and say that the Dodgers in 6. So I have them winning 4-2 next Friday on Halloween in Toronto. That is my prediction for the World Series. And I'm actually glad that Toronto made it. It's been the first time since 1992 that they go back. They won it in 92. It would be a huge upset. A huge upset if they're able to pull it off. They've managed to stay competitive. Both teams will be rested. Their starters have ample time to rest and be prepared for this matchup. So it's going to be a fun World Series. I'm a big fan of the World Series. To me, it's my favorite time of the year because we have football, basketball, baseball, all three major sports on at the same time. So I have the Dodgers in six games. The NFL, with just a few games remaining before the mid-stretch, Week 8 marks to be a critical juncture. Teams are either solidifying playoff hopes or they are desperately trying to avoid falling into holes. Now, the slate of this week does feature several high-stake contests, such as New England Patriots hosting the Browns. And when we talk about a fantasy and betting angles, a few standout matches include the Green Bay Packers taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Buffalo Bills limping into a tricky limp tilt game against Carolina. Injuries, turnovers, and momentum, it can swing and allow these teams to take control of the season. So, buckle in short. Week 8, it could offer the closest thing yet to a turning point in the season. When we talk about the NFC South, at the start of the season, we predicted that Tampa Bay would come out on top. Everyone expected New Orleans to struggle. Brand new coach. Is Spencer Rattler the future of the Saints? He has managed to protect the ball, even though he only has one win. Maybe moving forward, they will add more to their arsenal to give him more weapons. Atlanta was favored by many to claim this spot. Michael Penix in his sophomore season was expected to contribute just as Bijan Robinson has. Bijan Robinson from Texas has been the lightning bolt for that Falcon offense. The surprising team for me is Carolina. Carolina has been able to win games. Now, Bryce Young is dealing with an injury, either a hamstring or a foot. He hasn't practiced since Friday. He didn't practice on Friday. I believe he will play against Buffalo, but nonetheless, surprising to have Carolina compete for the NFC South. Green Bay was my choice to win the NFC North. The surprise team for me is the Bears. The Bears, Caleb Williams is showing signs of improvement. That now having Coach Johnson, the former offensive coordinator from the Detroit Lions, the Bears started the season 0-2. We have seen that they are on a 4-game winning streak moving forward. This should get very interesting at the ender part of the season. Are we going to have a division rivalry game late in the season that will ultimately dictate who goes to the playoffs and who doesn't? It seems that way because you have 3 teams, and even the Minnesota Vikings, even though they lost yesterday, they're still not out of it, per se. There's a lot of football left. The NFC West has been surprising. Everyone thought that with San Francisco and their injuries, that they wouldn't be able to claim that spot. I have the Seattle Seahawks coming out of the NFC West. The Arizona Cardinals have dealt with injury. You have James Conner in the backfield, out for the season on IR. You have Kyler Murray, who has sat out these past 2 games. Is this going to be the beginning of where the teams are starting to see whether they are going to have aspirations for a playoff run or prepare for next season? The NFC East, the defending champion, Philadelphia Eagles, do lead the division so far, leading into week 8. The New York Giants, even though they only have 2 losses, Jackson Dart, their quarterback, is promising. Their running back, Scatterboo, they have a great dynamic offense so far. They're competing. They lost last week to the Broncos in dramatic fashion. We saw how the Giants were up by 3 scores. They ended up losing the game to a dramatic comeback by the Denver Broncos. Jaden Daniels is dealing with injury. The Cowboys have a dynamic offense, which is very impressive. There's even discussions of Dak Prescott being in consideration for an MVP trophy. It is no secret that what is hurting the Cowboys is their defense, their secondary. There have been talks of the Cowboys trading for someone like Max Crosby, trading potentially for another interior defensive lineman, possibly even going the secondary route. Is the Cowboys one piece away from a championship contender? Because there's no question their offense is rolling. Look at them. In the division, they've scored 202 points, 222 points. The most in the division by a large margin. It goes to show you that you could have the best offense out there, but if you can't make those crucial stops on defense, you will lose games. And I think that is where we are looking at right now at this time with the Cowboys. Essentially, when we talk about the Micah Parsons trade, it's not looking that bad. Now imagine if we would have kept Micah Parsons, how would we have been? Would we have been in the 5-win mark? It's hard to say. But if Jerry Jones is able to trade away Micah Parsons and get someone such as Max Crosby, the defensive end from the Cincinnati Bengals, who is wanting out of that organization, and still have a 1 from Green Bay, a 1 from Dallas, that would be a win, in my opinion. But the Cowboys, there's no question that their offense is the number 1 offense in the league. We have had George Pickens step in whenever CeeDee Lamb was hurt. Williams in the backfield was a diamond in the rough that the Cowboys signed for $4 million. All in all, I am not a betting man, but I would dare bet an arm and a leg that the Cowboys will make the playoffs in this season because of their high-powered offense. The AFC South, the Indianapolis Colts have come out to an impressive lead in their division so far. Jacksonville as well. Many people attribute to Trevor Lawrence needing to take that next step. This is his 4th, 5th year in the league. Heisman Trophy winner, number 1 pick. He has flustered throughout this season, but he has managed to come up big when his team needed it. We saw that impressive victory against Kansas City, being down late in the 4th quarter with less than 2 minutes, driving it down the field and scoring himself has been a good look. The disappointment in this division, without question, is the Houston Texans. Everyone thought that the Houston Texans were going to be competitive, were going to compete for the AFC South title. Not this year. Tennessee Titans with Ward, the number one pick, quarterback, have only won one game. We have seen how they have already fired their head coach, second year with the team, with the organization. It looks as if the Tennessee Titans are playing for a top 3 pick for next year. Who's going to be their head coach moving forward? What's the offense gonna be like? Are they going to cater to Ward? Are they going to be able to bring weapons to add to that offense? Only time will tell. Daniel Jones, coming from the New York Giants, he won the starting job against Anthony Richardson during early in the season. He started the season as a starter. It goes to show that he was criticized heavily for his time in New York. And look, it's difficult. Being under the New York lights is something that is few can understand, few can withstand, right? But Daniel Jones, being in a different environment, a different head coach, a different system, has flourished. Maybe it was New York that wasn't able to put the tools around him, that wasn't able to have a coach that would mold him and help him succeed in the NFL. They always say sometimes the grass is always greener on the other side. For Daniel Jones, it has been that. Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is leading the AFC North. Baltimore has been the shocker so far. We have seen how Lamar Jackson has been dealing with a hamstring injury. He has returned to the practice field, but the question remains, do the Baltimore Ravens have any playoff aspirations? Are they able to crawl their way back into the playoffs? Or is it time for them to start thinking about next year? Again, to have someone with the likes of Lamar Jackson, you have to protect them at all costs. You have to make sure that your franchise quarterback is healthy down the road. That's paramount. That's the most important thing you need to have. So, should Lamar Jackson play? As of right now, it doesn't look good for them to make a wild card spot, to them even possibly win the AFC North. Is it possible? You still have a half of the season to go. Any given Sunday, right? But there's a high probability that we might see Lamar Jackson rest a game or two, see how the team does, and then make a decision whether they should sit him out for the year. Also, questions arise. What about Harbaugh? He did manage to bring a Super Bowl to the organization, but since then, he has not been competitive. Lamar Jackson has won MVPs, multiple MVPs, but they haven't been able to get past that hurdle, which is the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, not many teams have been able to accomplish that. But maybe, possibly, is this the time where the organization starts looking for someone else to take the reins and possibly take Lamar Jackson to that next level? We'll see after this week and next how the team bounces back, if they do. The AFC West, the surprise. And again, Good Morning Brownsville did pick the Denver Broncos to come out on top of a division that has been, for the past 10 years, been dominated by the Kansas City Chiefs. It's fair to say that the Las Vegas Raiders are out of the contention, but when you look at the AFC West, it's anyone's division so far. We spoke earlier about the Broncos winning in dramatic fashion. Bo Nix has shown that when push comes to shove, when his team needs him, he comes big in the clutch. This past Sunday against the Giants, he was having a horrible 3 quarters of the game. Something switched. They ended up winning the game, coming back from 19, 20 points in the fourth quarter. The Los Angeles Chargers just yesterday beat the Minnesota Vikings. Is this a time where Herbert is going to be able to take his team to that next level? He passed yesterday for 227 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. The interesting thing about this is that the Chargers, they've been able to find a key weapon at tight end, rookie Gadsden. He had an impressive game last night for the Los Angeles Chargers. He had 5 receptions, 77 yards with one touchdown. So the Chargers are a team now that's going to give a run to the Kansas City Chiefs and both the Denver Broncos. Kansas City, is hard to bet against them because they have Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, no question, 3-time Super Bowl winner, MVP, has proven that whenever they need him, whenever he needs to pull through, he always manages. So it's hard to bet against Kansas City, but I am going to stay with my pick that we made before the start of the season. We like the direction in which the Denver Broncos are going. Coach Payton has been able to bring the very best out in Bo Nix. Moving forward, the Denver Broncos should be competing for the AFC West. The Jets in the AFC East, no surprise, brand new coach Terry Glenn. Many people were skeptical of Justin Fields. The owner, Woody Johnson, was critical of his quarterback. Is this going to be where the Jets are going to go more for a conventional quarterback? We saw the success that Justin Fields had with the Bears. We saw the few games of success that he had with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Jets were expecting for that magic to come in New York. We only saw it the first game of the season in their opener against the Pittsburgh Steelers, where they scored 30-plus points. Justin Fields had a few touchdowns. But it's evident that Justin Fields cannot command an offense, cannot move the chains. The Jets have yet to win a game. They're 0-7 going into week 8. The Miami Dolphins have also had their fair share of injuries. Tyreek Hill suffered a gruesome leg injury a few weeks ago. There's even talks of Jaden Waddle potentially being on the trading block. I would expect the Dolphins to want one possible second rounder for his services. But the team that seems to be making the biggest strides this season has been the New England Patriots. Drake May. The surprise of many has been the Buffalo Bills. Now, again, every team has a certain slump, right? They did lose recently Monday night against the Atlanta Falcons. Many people thought that the Buffalo Bills should have no problem with the Falcons. I think they were even favored to win big by 7 points. Is there cause for concern? I wouldn't say so. There's no question on the ability that Josh Allen has. Strong arm, mobile quarterback. To me, it's going to be more impressive, and I had the Buffalo Bills winning this division. To me, it's going to be more impressive if New England is able to be competitive late into the season, moving forward. But so far, been very impressed with the direction that the Patriots are going. The early game set for Sunday. The Dolphins do travel to Atlanta. Atlanta is favored to win big by 7.5. I'll take the Dolphins with the points. Again, 7.5 points is a lot. The Jets and the Bengals, I believe Justin Fields will not be starting what's his name? Tyreek Johnson? No. Forget the backup of the Jets will be starting. Joe Flacco was able to pull off a victory against the Pittsburgh Steelers in his first game with Cincinnati. I'll take the Jets with the backup quarterback in this game. The Browns and Patriots. The Patriots are favored to win by 7. Give me the Browns with the points. The Giants and Eagles. Philadelphia is set to win by 7.5. I'll take the points all day. Give me the Giants with 7.5. Buffalo Bills will be traveling to Carolina. Buffalo is favored to win big by 7. There is a probability that Bryce Young will be sitting out this game if he's not able to suit up for a leg injury. That line I'll be monitoring because it could possibly move if Bryce Young does play. The Chicago Bears do travel to Baltimore. Again, the Bears are rolling right now, a 4-game winning streak. Baltimore, it seems as if Lamar Jackson will be playing this game because Baltimore is favored to win by 6.5. I'm not sure if that's a typo or what, but I'll go ahead and take the Bears plus 6.5. I'll even sprinkle money line on the Bears. The 49ers and the Texans will face off in Houston. Surprisingly, the Houston Texans are favored to win. The spread is Houston -2. I'll go ahead and take the 49ers covering the spread, winning this game. I like what Mac Jones is doing. Christian McCaffrey has been outstanding with their 5-2 record in that NFC West, has been impressive so far. The Buccaneers, after losing to the Detroit Lions in a sloppy Monday night game, they will travel to Nolans. They are favored to win by 4. I'll go ahead and take Tampa winning that game big. The Cowboys will be traveling to the Mile High Stadium. Denver is favored to win by 3.5. Is the altitude going to affect the Cowboys game at 325? I don't think so. I'll take the number 1 offense any day. The Denver Broncos do have a great front 7, but I'll go ahead and take the number 1 offense any day. Cowboys will win in Denver. The Titans do travel to Indianapolis where they face the 6-1 Colts. Indianapolis is favored to win by 14.5. Again, give me the points all day. I'm not scared. I'll take the Titans plus 14.5. The late games, Sunday Night Football. The Green Bay Packers do travel to Pittsburgh. They will face Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers does face his former team. Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers, primetime Sunday night. Green Bay is favored to win by 3. The over-under is 45.5. I'll go ahead and take the Packers winning this game, covering the spread Sunday night. The Kansas City Chiefs do host the Washington Redskins. Kansas City is favored to win by 12.5. You know me. I'll take the points all day, every day. Yes, I'll take the points. The Chiefs, Redskins do play on Monday Night Football. Now, college football. What's been interesting from this Week 9 that is scheduled for tomorrow, or for tonight actually, is Texas A&M. We have seen how Tech and Texas have dropped out of the top 10, but A&M is number 3 in the nation. They're ahead of teams such as Bama and Georgia out of the SEC, Mississippi as well. Miami did drop from number 2 to number 9 after their loss against Louisville. Vanderbilt rounds off the top 10 with a 2-1 record out of the SEC. They just had an impressive victory this past week. So all in all, it's going to be an interesting college matchup. Week 9 of the college football season, several powerhouse conference contenders and mid majors alike. The matchups to watch for this week is going to be the Aggies of A&M. LSU Tigers stands out. The Aggies, again, are ranked number 3. They're going to be heading into Baton Rouge to face a Tigers team that has underperformed and faced serious questions. Now, when we talk about conference title races, they're starting to crystallize. The SEC, the Big 10, the Big 12, and beyond. Teams like the Georgia Bulldogs, Alabama, Texas Tech, now they're positioning themselves as favorites. The key mid-week storylines include how low emerging teams such as South Florida Bulls and Memphis Tigers, how they have been able to handle pressure games in the group of 5 sphere where a top playoff bid is still in reach. So the bottom line is this week 9 of college football, it's not just an ordinary Saturday. It's the day when resumes get sharpened, bubble teams get filtered in, and championship hopes are either bolstered or they're dented. The early game set for tomorrow, Missouri Vanderbilt stands out. Vanderbilt is favored to win at home against Missouri. Number 4, Alabama does travel to face the Gamecocks in South Carolina tomorrow at 2:30. Bama's favored to win big. South Florida and Memphis. South Florida's favored to win big. I will take Memphis with the +6. North Carolina with Coach Belichick hasn't been able to, again, start of the season, new program, new faces. It's going to take at least 3 or 4 years for Coach Belichick to have a competitive roster moving forward. UCLA and Indiana. Indiana has also been impressive out of the Big Ten, ranked number 2. That's going to be interesting down the line. The Big Ten championship against, as of right now, against Ohio State. Georgia Tech as well, ranked number 7. Georgia Tech, which runs something like the A set, under center for the most part. They do have shotgun, but mostly under center. 7-0. And they're favored to win big. They're -17. Moving forward. What other game stands out? Texas, even though they're 5-2, Texas is only ranked 22nd in the country. They struggled against a Kentucky team. It was horrible. Many people are really questioning and saying maybe Arch Manning is not the superstar we expected him to be. The game to watch, in my opinion, tomorrow is A&M, LSU, 6:30, prime time. A&M is favored to win in Baton Rouge by 3 points. And the interesting thing, ladies and gentlemen, the interesting about this game is, let's say that A&M wins. What's going to happen to Chip Kelly? Remember, for most programs, being 5-3, being 5-2, going into week 8, hey, that's great. We're feeling good about ourselves. But LSU in the SEC that has won national championships, they expect to be undefeated deep into the season, competing for the SEC title, or going undefeated and not having to play for the SEC title. They expect to be in the playoffs and be in contention for the championship year in and year out. Chip Kelly, who came from Notre Dame, claimed that the reason why he left was because at LSU he would have the talent necessary to build a championship program. And in his 3 or 4 years under his tenure, he hasn't been able to come through. So let's say A&M does pull off the victory. The LSU Tigers fall to 5-3. We are going to start to hear rumblings. Chip Kelly's will be on the hot seat. Will big donors, boosters, will they contemplate to pay for his buyout? And maybe get a big name coach? It's crazy because these programs, it's rare whenever, especially for these programs that are constantly competing to be in the playoffs, to be in championship contention. They only get, 3-4 years. After that, that's when the buyouts start happening. That's when the boosters really start, okay, what do we need to do to find a championship coach? So that is the importance, the significance of tomorrow's game. If LSU loses at home, there is a probability that Chip Kelly's job will be at risk, will be at stake moving forward. Houston does travel to Arizona State. Arizona State is favored to win by 7. I'll take the Houston Cougars plus 7. All in all, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a interesting, a fun college football weekend. The UTRGV Vaqueros, who are 5-2 in their first season, they lost last week in a close game against Lamar, 23-21. But when we look at the start of the Vaqueros, they are looking to be a promising team moving forward. Tomorrow, they will face off against Incarnate Word. Let me see what's the spread on that one. Let me see. Where am I? Okay. Southland. Oh, there is no spread. UTRGV tomorrow at 7. No. Incarnate Word is 2-5. The Vaqueros should not have a problem with Incarnate Word. Next week, they will face a tough matchup against Stephen F. Austin away at Nacogdoches. So all in all, the Vaqueros have been off to an impressive start to their season. Again, they are 5-2. They do play tomorrow against Incarnate Word at 7 p.m. in Edinburgh at home. You can watch the game on ESPN Plus. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel titled Frankie Olivo TV. Good Morning Brownsville will come on Monday through Friday, sometimes a little bit after 9, sometimes religiously. So make sure that you subscribe to all of our social media platforms on X, formerly known as Twitter, on Facebook, but more importantly, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel titled Frankie Olivo TV. Currently, right now, we are at 836 subscribers. Ladies and gentlemen, it's free. I won't charge you, I promise. Our goal is to get to 1,000 by the end of this year. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for your time and your attention. Happy weekend. Have a great, and restful weekend. Good Morning Brownsville will come on Monday at 9 a.m. to talk about those important issues that are affecting our local community. My name is Frank, and this is Good Morning Brownsville. Peace.